Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Murderball Breakdown. My name is Oisin and I'm joined as usual by Darragh Culhane. Thank you to everyone who tuned in last week and the week before that. On today's show, we're going to look forward to the Liverpool game on Sunday. We're going to review the lads on the international break. We're going to get into the news of Leeds' third kit, which has actually been making waves, I suppose, in the footballing world so far since its launch. So, and as always, make sure that you subscribe to Murderball Breakdown on Spotify and Breakdown Inc. on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. So, Dara, let's get straight into the Liverpool game because it's a massive one, really, for Leeds when you think about their start to the season. And we just had the international break there. We're back into it. It could be a bit of a strange one. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the host of players that could be missing for the game, but I suppose what are your initial thoughts on the game? Are you looking forward to it? How do you think it's going to go?
I nearly have the same sense of dread as the first game of the season last year. Given last year you kind of came in and you were just like, "Oh no, this could be really good or really bad." And the way that the season has started, I'm kind of like, this could be similar. But it's those strange and wonderful meetings between Leeds and Liverpool are nothing new. After the last time round, it was the Super League, wasn't it? And they
Yeah,
had the t-shirts and that. But like Leeds are probably like they when they kind of are in a bad run. Like saying they're in a bad run is probably a little harsh, with two draws and a loss to a team that'll be competing for a title. But from the standards that we hold them at, like this is normally when they play their best. But let's hope. Hopefully, they'll come against Liverpool, and they'll relax fans. Even if it is a draw, a good performance and a draw, you're like, okay, yeah, now we're into the season. This is fine. But it's just going to be strange. I know you're going to go through some of the absences that are going to be, but geez, Liverpool look depleted, and it should be an odd one. But what will be good is that it will be in front of fans, which would be like the first uh, big game, and it's in Ellen Road, isn't it?
yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, so it should be the first like big team coming to Ellen Road, really um. So pretty much since they got up from the Premier League, so that'll be something nice. And Ellen Road, I know against Everton was a very hostile environment, so
Yeah.
I'm sure the fans will raise their voices for this.
Yeah, it is Ellen Road, and we'll get into the couple of games from last season. You kind of touched on them there. They actually were two great games, to be fair. All things considered, strange one, but strange in some ways. But we'll get into that a little bit after this. But let's touch on the absentees because it is a really strange one. If now again, at the time of recording, we don't. Nothing has been confirmed yet as to whether these Brazilian players will actually be missing the game. But it looks quite likely that the Brazilian FA are going to invoke whatever the clause, I suppose, is that we'll see players miss for both sides. So, I mean, for Leeds, it'll be a blow to like Rafinha has become one of Leeds' key players. I mean, since he's arrived, he's kind of been one of Leeds' key players, and he could make one of those players that can make a real difference in a game like this. And it's likely that he's going to be out. And then for Liverpool, they've got Firmino's was injured anyway, but Alisson obviously he's a big blow. I think Fabinho as well because I thought Fabinho was excellent last season when Leeds played Liverpool. So there's two players that are going to be missing. It's a bit strange, and you mentioned Liverpool being a little bit depleted, but who does this? If again, this is all I don't want to say hypothetical because it's looking likely, but it's not confirmed. If this is invoked by the Brazilian FA and these players are missing, who does it impact more? Because I'm slightly leaning towards Leeds with Rafinha.
Um, mm, I don't know if I can go that far. Like
Okay,
he is our biggest playmaker, but like Allison was a FIFA World Goalkeeper of the Year. Like it's a like I know we're obviously big fans of Queven Gallagher, but I mean, you are absolutely loving the fact that Queven Gallagher is starting in goal instead of Allison. As you said, Fabinho, like rock solid for Liverpool. You can plug him in centre back, you can put him in midfield, and he can stuff up a lot of what's going to happen. Like if he doesn't go in that midfield, you're going to have Henderson there, which I think Henderson's obviously great, but I think in the last between his injury last year and just father time, you're kind of looking at, you see how far like someone like Calvin Phillips is, his stock is so much higher than him now in the space of a
yeah,
year from Henderson winning a Player of the Year award. So you have him, probably Harvey Elliott, and then like we don't really know about the third midfielder, like because like Naby Keita as well in terms of uh, in terms of weird things that have happened this week. He was nearly caught up in a military coup, managed to get back into Liverpool. So I don't know if he's available. So that's an entire midfield that you're just like, geez, they can really be got at. And I know Firmino, he's banned, but I think he might have been injured anyway. And I know he's sort of in and out of the team. But like that's a lot of players compared to one Leeds player missing, even though it is Rafinha. I know, obviously, like I'm not sure if they'll fast track Daniel James starting or what they're going to do. Could they put Dallas in, or even one of the young lads? But no, I don't think I could have that far. I think Liverpool are definitely more impacted by this.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how they line up. You got Thiago as well, of course, who come into that Liverpool midfield. So that'll be interesting. I suppose we spoke about Rafinha there being missing. Is it too? I don't. It's not too early because I think he's match fit. Obviously, played for Wales in a lot of games against, I believe it was Estonia and Belarus. Daniel James. Is it too early for him? Do you think he could potentially get a start there if Rafinha's out? Because there has been talk. Obviously, you mentioned a couple of other options, maybe Dallas, Somerville. Obviously, the player from the 23s. He'll likely be in the squad. He's been impressive there with the 23s. I think it's probably a stretch to start him ahead of James, but could we see him getting a debut?
It's tough to see, like, because if you go back to last year, Rafinha, who I suppose we'd all rate a lot higher than Daniel James, he took 6 weeks, 2 months to get a start. I think Arsenal, the 0-0 was his first start, if my memory serves me right. To really get him up to speed with the fitness, the style of play, stuff like that. So, like, maybe he will be parachuted in just because, like, who else really is there? But it would be surprising to see him come into the Leeds team. I do think the game might suit him though, if
Yeah,
he does come in, like the just purely because of his speed. I think that he will play some role though. He will like come off the bench or get him some minutes. Like, yeah, it's not like I'm sure like he's a fairly fit lad. It won't take him too much to get up to speed, but like he would have been. I think he played 2 days ago for Wales. I know we're going to touch on that in a while, but like
yeah.
he hasn't trained with Leeds. So if there was training yesterday or today, which I'd imagine would be fairly light, he wouldn't have trained with Leeds at all. So it'd be bizarre if he actually did get a start.
Yeah, it might be a little bit too early for him, especially as you said, like what the levels that kind of Bielsa needs players at, that kind of way. I know he is fit, and he seems like the kind of player who keeps himself very, very fit, and you never see him kind of get too tired or anything like that. But the levels that Bielsa expects and the kind of style of play that he expects, it might be a little bit early. Be interested to see if Click and Firpo come back into the side. I know they missed a game against
Burnley.
Burnley, yeah, with COVID. But I think Click, we spoke about it last week, but Click's influence was really missing in that Burnley game. I think kind of getting a hold of the ball and he kind of playing in that 10, but kind of being that link man. Is it if obviously provided he is, and we're nearly sure he will be. Click or Rodrigo? Is it like a case of one or the other there in that 10, or how do you kind of play it?
Yeah, well, I suppose it'll depend if Dallas is going like because if Dallas is playing left wing, you probably just play the two of them. I suppose you'd
Yeah,
have Phillips, Click, and Rodrigo. Um, One thing they have struggled like against Burnley was winning that midfield battle, which is such a big thing for Leeds. Um, Again though, like I'm expecting Calvin Phillips to improve again. Like having, I
yeah,
think he played 2 of the 3 games for England over the international window, so he should be able to get on a little bit better in the midfield. Um, but yeah, I think you got to start. I think the Burnley game really did emphasize, and like he was pretty good against Everton as well, and he got the goal. So it would be nice to see him back into the team, and he was very good last year against Liverpool in the
yeah.
first game of the year.
Yeah, he didn't play for Poland in the international break against England and that. So it's still a little bit up in the air whether he'll be there. Same with Firpo. I know I'm just looking through here and there's talk of him still being missing, but it will be interesting to see who comes in. And mean, if Leeds are missing a lot of players, like it could be a chance for a younger player to step up, as you mentioned, someone like Somerville obviously coming in there who's impressed, maybe someone in the midfield. But let's touch on, I suppose, the games from last season, because they were both of them, I suppose, entertaining for wildly different reasons, really. The first one, that 4-3 game, that was really Leeds' arrival in the Premier League. And I know there was kind of joking about like it was a moral victory for Leeds. They didn't get 3 points, but they played so well. But that really was kind of their arrival, wasn't it? And I suppose it really did show everyone that like this is a serious side in the Premier League here. It's not a case of Leeds are coming up and they're kind of going to be these plucky underdogs and maybe to pick points off some sides in and around them, challenge the bigger teams. Like this was a real like if it wasn't for there was a couple of, I remember the Robin Koch handball, which actually essentially changed the rule going forward for the rest of the season. Then you had Rodrigo who kind of gave away a penalty in the last couple of minutes against Salah on his debut. So it would kind of could have gone either way. I think Liverpool were probably the better side, but could have gone either way. But that was a really exciting game, wasn't it? And I mean, is it a case of wanting a game like that tomorrow or Sunday? I don't think so. But that was probably one of the highlights of the season, really, from last year, wasn't it? I mean, I know obviously there was no points gained, but in terms of just it being the first game of the season, that Jack Harrison goal was outstanding. Just so much how Leeds impressed everyone, I suppose, and arrived back in the Premier League. For me, anyway, I think that was one of the highlights last season.
I like I know we can often get ahead of ourselves, but I do think it was one of like the great Premier League games. Like you go to the list of games and you're just like, this is like the defending champions, and the Liverpool fans love to call them the best champions ever, despite finishing like.
Yeah.
Oh no, they finished top four actually.
They finished fourth, yeah. So
sorry for the slander, Liverpool. But like Leeds returning after 16 years in the doldrums, and they come out and typically it goes where like was it Van Dijk who got the first goal, and then you're just like
yeah, it's a Van Dijk header, or I think maybe Salah got the first goal, and then I know Van Dijk definitely scored a header,
and but like Van Dijk was just terror. Yeah, no, the
Salah penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then Van Dijk was just constantly winning the headers and the penalties. You're just like, oh dear God. And then just like the Harrison and Bamford goals were just superb. Like they were just unbelievable. But and then as the kind of game went on, because Liverpool like just dominated for the first sort of 20 minutes, and then you were just like, jeez, maybe we're not as good as Leeds we thought they would be. And then they just sort of like they end up having over 50% of the possession throughout the game then in the end. And it was like, okay, we actually do belong here. We're going to be okay. And so like I think like I'm a fiend now for watching highlights of games. So say if like Leeds win, I'll watch the highlights of the games 5, 6, 7 times in a week. But if they lose, I'll wipe from my memory, and it'll be the same with like other teams like in the NFL or that I support. But it's probably the one game where I've like watched the highlights multiple times.
Yeah.
That was just such a fun game.
And then I suppose switching gears to the next game, that was much more subdued, but kind of not because of what was occurring on the pitch per se, but that was the day that the Super League was announced, and a crazy day in football. And Leeds wore the wasn't it like earn it, don't buy it or something, those T-shirts, and they were kind of
crying throughout the game. You're like,
I can't
enjoy this. Football's dead.
I couldn't. I remember watching like that. I got to like the first 60 minutes, maybe not even the first 60 minutes, like 45 minutes, and I was like, I can't. This is terrible. I hate this so much. And obviously the next day it stopped, so everything was back to normal and everything was fine. But that game was much more subdued. To be fair to Leeds, though, they actually played quite well in that game, and Liverpool looked they just weren't really at it. Not kind of, I don't know. They just looked quite poor in that game.
Yeah,
I know they took the lead, I think, and then Leeds. It was actually Llorente who equalised, wasn't it?
Llorente header. He equalised late from a header, but it was just deserved. Like because in the it was complete opposites. Like in the first half of the season, like even just that first game of the season, like it was all Liverpool, and Leeds kind of had 3 or 4 chances and got them, and you rode their luck a little bit. Whereas this one, it was like Liverpool that just looked gas. Now, in credit to Liverpool from that point to how they actually managed to get back into the Champions League places, because they're in their performances were really dipping at that point, and Leeds really hit a high point. and like I think Mane got the goal, and then from there on, Leeds dominated them.
Yeah.
Like it was like Liverpool really looked like they were the newly promoted side from the Championship, and Leeds like that spell, that kind of last 10 games coming into this season, that's I think for me was personally the best Leeds have played under Bielsa. They just got it. Like everything just clicked into place. Everyone understood what they had to do. They understand how to be more stingy in defence when they're meant to not play out from the back. And that's what they did against Liverpool. And then they they end up typically getting it from, I think it was a corner which they never scored from, I think, but it was just deserved. And Llorente as well, like the influence he had in that second fixture and kind of the run in last year. So it'd be interesting to see if he plays again. He wasn't all that great against Burnley, but no one was. So you're kind of hoping that he will again kick on, and you're just hoping that a few of the players will kick on, because he could just be a serious player if he gets to the levels that he did at the end of last season.
Yeah, he does. Always looks good. I think whenever I've seen him, I know you mentioned the Burnley game, and that was a case of everyone, as you said, everyone not kind of no one looked good in that game really, but he always brings some kind of steadying influence, I suppose, to the defense. He can play a little bit as well. Before we move on to the international win, let's quickly look at a score prediction. I mean, Leeds, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but Leeds do always seem to bounce back when they need to, and it's not like they've been in massive slumps under Bielsa, but they always kind of seem to be able to stop the rot pretty well whenever it kind of gets to the stage where it starts to become a little bit worrying. Do you think they'll do this against Liverpool? And if so, what will the score be?
I'm not sure. If they had the players in training for the week, I would say yes, but because they're gone away. But at the same time, I'm like, are they going to lose this game? I don't think. I feel like it could be a 1-1 again. I do think it could be a 1-1 again. And that's what my heart is telling me. Head tells me Liverpool could win it like 2-0. So I'll go heart over head and go 1-1 Leeds, and to stop the rot and get another draw.
Yeah, it's a game that's worrying me a little bit in the sense that Liverpool have looked very, very good this season. They've looked really just steady. And steady, I think, is nearly more worrying than like the likes of someone I know Chelsea are looking very, very strong, but Liverpool are quietly kind of gone about their business, and they're looking good. I know the Chelsea game was different because of the red card and things like that, but against Norwich, Burnley, they just looked outstanding. But it worries me as well, just because I know, and we actually must touch on just before going to the international window, Stuart Dallas as well, who of course dropped out of the Northern Ireland squad. We mentioned it last week, so still unsure. That was for personal reasons, so we're still unsure whether he is even available for the game on Sunday. So I mean, if you look at it, and you've got Dallas out, and Click again with COVID, you don't know. Firpo, you don't know. Rafinha out too. That's four. That's big. Yeah, that's a lot of big. That's a lot of big characters missing from that team. But I will probably be. I'll go with you as well, and I'll look on the optimistic side, and I'll go 1-1, provided Leeds do have a lot of their players that have been such a big influence this season starting the game. And we'll move on now to the international window. We kind of did get into it a small bit. The mess that's surrounding the Brazilian FA, that's surrounding the Brazilian players in the Premier League, that's surrounding this game more so, I suppose, than any in the Premier League, really. Like, how did this kind of happen? Well, what is going on really with this? I mean, how did they kind of get to this stage? Because it seems as though it's one of those where if they don't play, the Brazilian FA might not call them up again. Is it going to be a case of that? Because you look at a player like Rafinha, he might be thinking, well, I obviously, like, I want to play for Leeds. I want to, like, I love it here, all this kind of thing. But, like, he's going to want to represent. He hasn't played for Brazil yet. This was his first call up. Now, he couldn't go, obviously, because of COVID and things like that. But is he looking at this thinking, well, if I play this game, are they just going to blackball me essentially and never play me again? Like, how did it get into this mess, really?
That's the thing. The only way you can describe it is a mess, and like you do feel sorry for someone like him. Like if you were, now I know he is actually overplaying, but say you were someone like Neymar and he was overplaying for Brazil, but you'd be a bit like, I've played for them 100 times or whatever. They're not going to. But like Rafinha, like we touched on the last show, like how big a call up for him to Brazil actually would be. So he's just there stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's like, and the funny thing is he's getting banned either way.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
if he turned up, I think he would have had to. He couldn't play for 10 days or something, so he'd miss this week and probably miss next week as well. Um, and then if he doesn't turn up, he misses this week, and it's just crazy, crazy, crazy. Like that, like you just feel so bad for all of them, especially someone like him that he hasn't been. Like again, someone like Allison, like he's probably going to be called up again because he's so good. And like Rafinha obviously is so good, but like he hasn't been capped, and you just feel terrible for him. And like I know it's not directly related the with the Argentina and how they got kicked off the pitch and
Yeah.
deported and everything that went on with it, but like just one massive clusterfuck after the other, where like you saw Messi on the pitch being like, "How have we been here for 3 days and it's coming to this?" And you're just like, "There's like you could smell the shit coming from somewhere. Someone somewhere was like, we want to make this chaotic for absolutely everyone and just be unforgiving. Like Brazil, I mean, at the best of times with the way that their country is being run, is that seems like a terrible, terrible place at times. And like this just kind of epitomized absolutely that. And it just shows the divide as well between like FIFA and UEFA and the FA and that FIFA are just like, well, we have to enforce this ban despite probably realizing that it's absolutely stupid that the players like shouldn't be able to travel with all the quarantine laws and who's paying the wages and stuff like that. But it's just wild. I suppose hopefully in a few months COVID is gone. We don't ever have to talk about something like this again. But and we've been saying that for a year and a half. It's just absolutely crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's madness, and through no fault of their own as well, I suppose, which is the crucial part. Let's look at a couple of the other players as well. We'll just briefly touch on Liam Cooper. He didn't feature in the next game for Scotland. As you said, it was kind of similar to the Euros. We were talking about software, similar to the Euros a little bit. But I think he kind of seems like he's kind of that player for Scotland, should I say. He never kind of seemed to nail down a starting spot. So I wouldn't say that's anything to kind of get too up in arms about. Dan James and Tyler Roberts both started for Wales, which is promising. Caught some of the highlights. James was lively enough. Didn't seem like Roberts did too much necessarily. But again, good to see both of those players getting game time for Wales, especially someone like Roberts, who's kind of been in and out of the Leeds team. Someone that Bielsa still obviously has.
Front three of Bale, Roberts, and James.
There you go. What a front three. Oh,
Gareth
yeah.
Bale, it's time to come home to Yorkshire.
Well, I was going to say Bale sticking out there. But let's talk about Bamford. Good to see he made his debut against Andorra. Didn't score, which I was a little bit disappointed in. But it seemed like he was pretty lively. Doesn't seem, though, like... It seems as though, and I read a couple of people mentioning this actually as well on Twitter, saying that Bamford was actually, he played quite well and he was making good runs and getting himself into good positions, but he just wasn't really getting found by the England midfielders, England defenders, things like that. Must be difficult, I was thinking, for a player like Bamford, who, when you play in the system with Leeds for so long, because was it 4 years he's been there, and then this is essentially his first time playing in a different style, a different system since he joined Leeds. That must be difficult for him to readjust to how those type of players move, how those type of players, what type of passes they will be looking for. It must be a little bit tricky for him. But he probably done enough to get himself another call up, provided he keeps scoring, I suppose, for Leeds.
I did hear sort of mixed reviews on what people thought of his performance, which you're always going to get if you're the 9 and you don't score. But like think back to Calvin Phillips when he started with England, like his first 3 or 4 caps, and Southgate didn't really know what he's doing, and it took Phillips a bit of time to get up to speed for his system. And year later, he's like the England Player of the Year, thanks to 5 million votes from Leeds fans.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're also like the sacrificial lamb going up front for England. Like if you don't score a hat trick against Andorra and you've Harry Kane behind you, like, you know, it's nice for Bamford. He'll get his 1 cap. He might get another call up. I do think he is going to have to work harder to get a call up than other forwards like your Calvert-Lewins, your Greenwoods, etc. So like to get a call up for the next window, you'd think that he'd have to bang in a couple more goals than the rest of them. I just think the perception of him in England, aside from Leeds fans, are people just don't particularly like him in comparison to Calvert-Lewin and Greenwood and whatever, even Danny Ings and that. So if he keeps plugging away and scoring goals, it's hard to leave him out though. But yeah, like I only caught the highlights and it was the same thing. Like his runs were good and as you said, it was lively. There was one chance that he like initially I'd read because I wasn't watching it live that he'd missed the sitter, and I was watching the highlights and I was like, it's hardly a sitter. The thing kind of popped out to him maybe 10 yards out on a volley, and he sort of sliced it over the bar. Like yeah, fair enough. Maybe he should hit the target, but like that's hard for any footballer. But like for him, I think it was just a big thing to get his international cap anyway. It'd be nice if he did get another call up as well, but also nice for us if he doesn't and he doesn't get injured in international duty.
That's very true. Yeah, only 4 weeks until the next international break, which is kind of a bit grim, but also gives him the chance, I suppose, if he can grab 2 or 3 goals in that period of time, he'll put himself back into contention again, I suppose. So, moving on from that, who's back of the week? Last week we had Daniel James. The week before we had Adam Forshaw. This week we've got limited options, really, because I mean it's been the international break, so that's probably. I mean that's our excuse, really. You're gonna have limited options when the international break rolls around. But let's start. We'll start with the international break, I suppose, because that's our first one. Is hating the international break back? Because I've never loved the international break.
Oh, it's really. So back.
I've never loved it. But are we back to hating it?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I mean, we have to sit through Ireland play football for 3 games in 7 days or whatever it is. And in case anyone missed it, there was a 1-1 draw against Azerbaijan. Now, there was a 2-1 loss to Portugal, which made me feel alive, which I haven't really felt since 2016 watching Ireland.
Yeah.
So that was good. But yeah, like Rafinha, probably your best or second best player, is gone because of this international window. So fuck you, international break. And like standard of football, international is so bad. Like you're there and you're like, oh yeah, there's so many games on. Germany are playing whatever country here. That'll be good. And then you turn on, you're like, I do not care about this game at all. I don't care about it. Exactly. Even like England, like you're like, oh, all these good players we watch week in, week out in the Premier League. Let's tune in to watch them. And you're just like, this is boring. They play terrible football. They're just trying not to concede. Like, it's like, are you really going to watch England and Andorra? No, unless you're from England. Yeah. I mean, so what do we have? We have October, and then is there a November one?
I believe there's a November one too. Yeah, two more international breaks before Christmas.
And then it's a free run till March.
Then it's till usually March. Yeah, and then June. Well, I mean that's getting way too far ahead of ourselves, but
end of the season, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not a huge fan of the international window. I don't like the way it comes so quickly as well. It's only 3 games into the season. Like that's just dumb. I mean, teams are only kind of getting into the season. A lot of players are only kind of getting back into fitness from the preseason. You're only finding your legs really, and then suddenly you have to go and play for your country. I just don't like it. I've never really liked it, especially now in times of COVID as well. I mean, I think more should be more consideration really made for that. But
and also the first international window always falls on my birthday, right? And like, if you would go through the list of games that have been on my birthday, like Ireland have ruined my birthday so many times. So 1-1 against Azerbaijan was on my birthday. Woohoo! I remember the Cyprus 5-2 was on my birthday as well.
God, that's about
like, no, international window. And then you fool yourself every time thinking that the football is going to be good. And it's always terrible.
You do. Sundays as well.
We're wavering from the lead side of this. It's because Rafinha is banned and people get injured. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. Yeah. This is like my therapy session here to where I'm.
Yeah. Let's link ourselves back. Yes, mainly the international window mainly hating the international window is back because we're probably going to be missing Rafinha, which is a blow. Our second option, we only have 2 this week. Second option, it's kind of a hypothetical option, but
yeah, it's not really an option, is it? International window's going to win. Spoiler, but
I think international window's going to win. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about 2. This could be a good one for next week if
Yeah,
it goes well. If it
yeah.
goes well, but Leeds Liverpool classics. There does seem to be a lot. Like the 2 that I remember, obviously. I mean, I remember the 2 games last season, but the 4-3 last season, and I remember the 4-3. I think it was 4-3 when Viduka scored those 4 goals. It was like 2001, I think.
Yeah.
So I think I hope that Liverpool Leeds classics are back only if Leeds win. I hope, or if it's like a 3-3 draw or something. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll probably take that. But if Leeds get spanked like 6-3 or something, I don't know if I'll be rooting for that one for who's back.
It's like the watching Leeds in the Premier League though. It's funny if there's a boring game, but because the Premier League is just so new to us as being fans, things are really exciting. Like the terrible 0-0 game with Man United. Like
Yes.
everyone else watching that was like, this is the worst game ever. Whereas I was like, this is so tense. This game could swing on any decision here. So even if it is a boring 0-0, I'll be there on the edge of my seat, being like, wow, this is the tensest game ever. But I don't think it really counts as a who's back of the week, given it's not officially back. I was really stuck for options yesterday.
Yeah, this was tough. Who's almost back of the week? I think we're going to give it to hate in the international break.
Yeah.
That's good. I'll enjoy that option. I'll any type of international break hatred I'm here for, especially the first one of the season. So let's give that one we can't give any. There's nothing like no actual sentient being to give this award to, because you know what I mean.
Well, we'll give it
FIFA,
Brazil,
UEFA,
Brazil.
the Brazilian FA. Okay, I like that. The Brazilian FA.
Congratulations, us and Liverpool fans right now.
Yes, handshake emoji. Okay, let's go on to our last segment. I'm actually looking forward to talking about this one. I'm not going to lie. Leeds' third kit released yesterday. Judging by the reception that's gotten from pages like Footy News and all those Twitter pages that get like thousands of likes, it seems to be going down pretty well, to be fair. I like it. I didn't like it at the start. I thought it was a little bit, I don't know what I thought it was, but I just was like, fair enough. But I'm kind of starting to grow into it a little bit. It's kind of, I mean, I'm sure everyone has seen it at this stage. If you haven't, it's kind of, I think lilac would be the best way to kind of describe it, really.
It's very like the 04-05 away jersey. Do you not think the color of it?
Oh, it is a little bit like that. Seems a little bit darker than that. That was more blue. I think this one's kind of
more blue.
This one's kind of more purpley. What do you think of it? I like it. I do like it, I have to say.
To go back though, to going on a tangent here, but I remember ordering that blue Leeds away jersey in 2005, and it went out of stock. They said it was on the way, and it never came, and I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
My
that
dad
was the Diodora one, wasn't it?
Of Beano to make me feel better.
That's fair. That was Diodora, was it?
Sponsored that was Diodora, sponsored by.
Yeah. Oh, was it? It wasn't the White and Mackay one. That was.
It was.
Before. Was it? Ah, they kept that sponsorship. Yeah.
I think that was the season of. Was that the season that you remember they were 3-0 down to Southampton? And then
I don't know, because I think that was the first season of the championship, was it not? That season.
Oh, was it?
I think so. Yeah, I'm nearly sure, because the White and Mackay was they definitely had it the season they got relegated, because I had that away jersey. I had it was like a pinstripe away jersey, terrible jersey now, but thought it was cool at the time. But anyway, what do you think of it? I think it's nice.
I don't know. I just think it's very Man City.
Okay.
It's very Man City for me. I much prefer the away jersey.
Yes, the away jersey is nice. I will say that.
Not as nice as the third kit last year.
Yes, the third kit Leeds they're going a bit wild with the third kits, aren't they? The third kit last year was.
I have been I've been on the Leeds website every single day for about 3 months, hoping that a medium or large of the third kit from last year will come back into stock. Don't think it ever will.
It just doesn't.
Because I should have just paid my £60 instead of waiting for it to get discounted, and it's bitten me in the arse. But
yes,
I'm not sure if I'll be, I'm not sure if I'll be buying any of the jerseys this year. Like, they're nice, maybe the away one, but the home one is grand. Is it much better than the one that I'm wearing right now? Probably not. Maybe a little nicer. And then the third one, I'm not fully vibing with. I could just see Jack Grealish wearing it, you know?
True. It is in stock there. I can see it on the Leeds shop for €74, which is quite excessive, but that's, I suppose, the price that jerseys are these days. The only concern I'd have with it is that, is it that different? Not that different, but like, if Leeds are playing a team in white, like, is it gonna clash? Like, it's not like it's that dark. You know, that kind of
Yeah.
way. I don't know. Is it like, could you see some kind of clashing between the home kit and that kit? Because it's not
It's a bit
too
like, you know, when you
dissimilar.
play FIFA and there's the kind of the teams with the similar
Yeah.
colored jerseys and you don't know who you're passing to, like.
Like if a team is wearing blue, or if teams wearing white and their away jersey's blue, Leeds is the same. But like, you've got
Like
then the purple,
when
which
they
is kind
play
of,
Man City, what jersey are they gonna wear? White?
yeah. Are they
White
gonna wear
on
white and
blue?
then see
If it's
and
white on
blue? I
blue,
don't know.
then their away one is blue on blue, and then their third kit is blue on blue.
This is we have to have a color clashes section of this podcast. I don't know. That's confusing me, but I'm not gonna lie, I like it, and it seems as though a lot of other people like it too. We could probably go. Robin Cox have to say, look great in it. Look great in that kit. He's a very good looking man. That's all I'll say.
Robin
I'm just
Koch,
looking at it here.
yeah.
Yeah, looking at it here on the Leeds website as we speak. People modeling it. But yeah, I'm a fan of it. I'm not gonna lie. So third kit talk out of the way. That's us for the week.
Yeah,
We'll have
not
plenty more next week. A little bit of a shorter episode this week, given the international break, given the fact that Leeds actually haven't played since the Burnley game. But we'll be back next week. Looking forward to that one. Newcastle on the Friday night, so we'll obviously have the pod out on the Friday, so we'll be previewing that one. And then we've got Tuesday, I believe it's Norwich, Darragh, the following Tuesday. Yeah, so two games for us to preview next week. So that'll be exciting. And we'll obviously look back at Liverpool as well. Hopefully look back at Liverpool with positive thoughts. Hopefully a positive result, a win ideally, but hopefully a positive result. Thanks everyone again for listening. Don't forget you can listen to Murderball Breakdown on Spotify or anywhere you get your podcasts, and you can subscribe to Breakdown Inc. on YouTube, and we will talk to you next Friday.